Hey everyone, this is Hey everyone, welcome to the session. In this session, we are going to discuss this Rajeev sir, and he is going to interact with us on startups and upcoming future EV industry. And we are going to dive deep into the chart, and we'll let you know what are the fundamentals are we need to know before you starting your own startup. What are the things you require, and what are the fundamentals? What are the documents required for startup? And if you are interested in EV industry, and how we need to start in the event industry before getting into the interview, into the discussion. We will know much about Rajesh sir, and then we'll start the interview. Okay. Yes, sir. Sir, I will just brief about your bit information, introduction.
Yeah, first of all, hey, thanks, Karthik and team, for having me here. Hope my audio and video are
Yes, sir.
clear. Yeah, nothing great to introduce. Rajeev YSR, Bachelor's Masters from IIT Madras, 2010
Yes.
batch. Worked with multiple companies such as Fortune 500 companies such as Bosch, Mahindra and Mahindra, TVS Motors. For the past, I would say, 12, 13 years. And my last stint was with Gati Logistics, where I was heading the electric vehicle business. And then I was also promoted as Chief Strategy Officer there. And then later on, we have spun off a company within Gati Logistics called Avan India. I was the Chief Operating Officer for the same. My, I would say, introduction and to electric vehicles actually happened in Gati because IKEA was in India in 2018 and Gati was the last mile delivery partner.
Yes.
And as per the contract, Gati is obliged to deliver 25% of the deliveries through electric vehicles. That was when Gati was looking for somebody who can build these solutions for them. And that was when I joined. And the same solution, we white labeled it and then we shared it across Amazon, Big Basket, Grofers, Flipkart, etc. And it finally became a wildfire. In fact, we are also invited to be part of the policy and drafting committee meetings at Delhi with Neeti Aayog, Rocky Mountain Institute, as well as in Telangana. So that is how my association with electric vehicles has been, and I've been part of multiple these policy drafting committee meetings, and I've given inputs more from the logistics perspective. And very recently, what I've realized is one of the biggest threat to EV industries is the non-availability of relevant talent pool. That's the biggest threat, and the industry is also suffering from lack of right talent. So that is where I thought I've taken an initiative called EV Masterclass, and in partnership with the government of Telangana, T-Hub, and many other channel partners, where the aim and agenda is to nurture and encourage basically the students to consider entrepreneurial opportunities specifically in EVs, and also at the same time give more opportunities for them to build their career in EVs. And for professionals, if they want to pivot their career around EVs, it's an opportunity for them. So I think that's, and I'm also a mentor on board with T Hub, TI Hyderabad, then Usmania Technology Business Incubator, IIT Madras, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Bombay. I think that is where we met during the E-Summit talk at IIT Bombay, Karthik, in T Hub that happened
Yes,
last
sir.
weeks ago. So yeah, I'm also a mentor. Apart from EVs, I love mentoring startups. I love mentoring students and encouraging them to become entrepreneurs. So yeah, that's all. That's all about me. Please go ahead.
And I would like to tell about Rajesh a bit more. He has trained more than 50,000 students across India, Pan India, and of India also. And he is being a operational strategist, and he is a chief mentor in various companies. He also working in top 500 Fortune companies in Mahindra, one of the leading company. And let's get started with the interview, sir. So my
Sure.
first question, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and I'm very happy to see you here, sir. Thank you for that.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yes. So let's firstly start with the National Startup Day, which was previously announced by the respected Narendra Modi ji, the Prime Minister. So I would like to know some of your insights on that. How India is going to change with that impact.
Yeah. So first of all, the 16th of January being announced as a startup day is
Yes.
a very I would say welcome move for a simple reason. See, for any economy to grow, right? The conventional, I would say, companies and then the conventional industries can only take the economy to only certain extent. If the
Yes, sir.
economy too has to go inorganically and exponentially high, then basically there needs to be channels, there needs to be players who would, I would say, create right, those wonders and those thunders, right,
Yes.
in terms of wealth creation. And I believe we are at the right track, because if you look at 2020, there are, of course, close to 40,000 startups. But in 2020, we had only 8 startups which, I would say, acknowledged or which received the tagline of a unicorn. But then in
Yes.
2021, we see that number going to, I would say, 40. I would say 42 was the old number. Right now, the number is wavering at around 70. And then there are enough evidences to say that in the coming years, by 2025, more than 300 startups are going to get into right, the unicorn status. Not only that, in 2021, startups alone contributed to more than 4 lakh plus direct jobs, right? 40,000
Yes.
startups, more than 40 plus unicorns, and 4 lakh plus jobs. That is only possible through startups. And it is coming from the head of the country, and acknowledging that is a great idea. And the future for startups is going to be really awesome.
So compared to previous India, it was very typical mindset we have. Like taking up a startup like entrepreneurship journey is like wasting your life. You're draining your life into the drainage. Like it's nowadays, if you are into startup, it you are making India and the society very valuable place. And you also mentored a seventh grade student, sir. I have just gone through your session. A seventh grade student, you have mentored him. How you feel like seeing like those kind of people in entrepreneurship journey?
See, again, this I was telling in the past also. Once again, okay. Now, this I was telling in the past also. Probably 30 years ago, right, 4 decades ago, the urge was somehow get a job in the government sector. Right? That was the
Yes.
urge.
Yes, sir.
The India basically was an agrarian economy. Most of the economy was based on agriculture, and also most of the, I would say, also most of the uh, I would say the labor and the workforce also used to be in agriculture. Slowly, the industrial revolution has started, and majority of the industrial revolution that started in India was basically, to begin with, were more, I would say, owned by the governments when they began. Now, not only the industries and also service sectors are also part of the government. So, probably 3 decades ago, the push was get a job, get a
Yes.
government job. Used to be the push. Then 2 decades ago, I mean, right, the question is, government jobs, very stable, good, but very low paying. Get some jobs in
The
MNCs,
mindset.
high paying. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm
Yeah.
audible. You are audible.
High paying opportunity to go to US, UK, Europe, Australia, right? Get some jobs in the multinational companies and then build your career.
Yes.
Then last 10 years, right? After when we complete those 20 years decade also and come to the last 10 years, then people were like, forget about MNCs, forget about government, try to get a job in startups. And while you join, try to get certain ESOPs. Why? Because it is not about salary anymore. It is about wealth
Yes.
creation. The startup, which when you join probably is valued at 10 crores, 15 crores, but by the time you come out in 4 or 5 years, that startup could be a unicorn. And then your ESOPs of 0.25% then must be
Yes.
bringing some millions by the time it has become a unicorn, right? That has become into startups, right? So, but now going forward, I'm also telling you the trend at this point of time is forget about government jobs, forget about MNCs, forget about starting the, first, forget about joining the startups also. You become a startup founder. You start your own startup and
Yes.
build the well, right? I think that is how the trend has changed, Karthi. And when the trend has changed, the policies of the government are also falling exactly in line with this. And I'm very much confident to say that the future is all about startups.
Like we already discussed, taking start. The future is going to be all about startups, but creating unicorn is not also easy job, right, sir? There are a lot of holding back holdings. There are a lot of risks also, and 10 out of 9 startups tend to fail. So may I know what are the your insights, your experience on it?
See, Karthik, failures are given.
Yes.
Failures are there everywhere, right? If somebody is failing, which means that he is progressing, right? Say, for example, Thomas Alva Edison. When did he invent the bulb? He invented the bulb on his 10,000 attempt, right?
Yes, long.
You know what he said? No, he said that I did not fail 10,000 times. I learned that a bulb doesn't work in 10,000 different ways. And I only found out the bulb works in 10,000 first way, right? So, and again, we all heard these things, right? And these are not ordinary statements. Failures are stepping stones to success are absolutely true. Please be prepared that you or me or anybody would fail. The beauty is not that we fail and we fall down and then we lay down there. The beauty is even if we fall 7 times, 77 times, right?
There is eight
Are we
times.
able to get up, pick
Yes.
up, and move towards our goal? While I said this, you can always do certain mitigation of risk to ensure that your failure or your fall doesn't really hurt you much. Example, right? Let me talk about an example, right? Say for example, in our young age we would have tried climbing trees, we would have
Yes.
tried climbing
Yes.
walls, right? We'd have tried climbing under construction buildings, and then the
And it
fantasy, because
keep falling.
I have done that, right? And then the
Yes.
fantasy was go there and jump. Correct. So
Yes.
would you always start by going to the top floor and jump? No.
No.
First, you get onto one particular foundation, and then you jump
On
from there, and then you
sand.
don't jump on
Get
the
started.
regular ground, right? You'll jump on the
Yes.
sand. Then you increase your. So what you are actually doing is you are calculating the risk, you are mitigating the risk before you finally get onto that floor and then start jumping, right? Your entrepreneurial
Yes.
journey or
Yes.
startup journey is also similar. Start slow, start small, experiment, fall, get up, fall, get up, fall, get up, and you will have enormous learnings, right, within you that you will succeed. And especially Karthik, this is my message to the students, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, studenthood is the best time to start up for simple reasons. Number one, there are no financial liabilities on you. Your food is taken care, your stay is taken
As
care,
of
your
now, yes, yes.
taken
Under
care.
parents.
Yeah. No, I mean, no parent asks you, anybody, I mean, no parent sends you
Oh,
college and then says, send me 10,000 rupees every month, my dear son, right? You are financially free. And you only have one job, 9 to 5 study. What do you do 5 to 9? Why can't you work on your own startup between 5 to 9? And
on
by the time
creating
you
the
finish your
value.
studies, you can become a startup founder, right? So I think risks are to be taken, failures will happen. What is important is how we handle the failures. Are we able to get up every time that we fall?
Yes.
And are we able to mitigate that risk? That's all.
So you told that failure is the first step, and we need to keep on increasing that, and we need to correct that next time. I have an idea, and how I can get started with my startup. For suppose, for all the
Yeah,
students, it is the general idea, general question. How can they get started with startup if they have an idea? How
correct.
can they implement?
Yeah, yeah. So there are certain frameworks which I have developed to
Yes.
help students. Now, it is out of those frameworks is what I'm going to spend some time in helping you understand what it is.
Yes.
You have an idea. Many people have multiple ideas, right? But then the first thing that you need to understand is, does that idea come from the core of you? There is a concept in Japanese called ikigai, which
Yes,
means
sir.
the
I have read
very,
the book.
you have read that book, right? Which means
Yes.
the very purpose of existence, right? So what you do, what you love to do, does the world, I mean, there is a whole lot of things which I will cover generally in my sessions. Check whether that idea is in line with your ikigai, whether
Yes.
that idea, that problem that you're trying to solve is in line with your ikigai. Once it is in line with your ikigai, that becomes your core. When the idea becomes your core, then what happens? Even if the going gets tough, you get tougher. Why? Because the idea is the core of you. You cannot let yourself go out just because the situations and circumstances are bad and adverse against you, right? So
Yes.
first thing to check is whether you have that idea from your core, whether you have that particular, I would say, bond and connect with this, that even if it means that it might fail, right, it can still continue, you will still continue to move on. That is number one. Second thing is idea validation. You have an idea, but how do you validate the idea? So there are 6-step frameworks that I want to give to you to validate your idea. The first one is check if that particular idea is solving any customer point or customer pain points, customer problems that are existing now. Check for it, the first one. Any failure or any point, right, that the customer is experiencing, and is your idea solving it? The second one is this idea in line with the changing customer trends or market trends? Second framework,
Second.
right? Third framework is check if this idea is affected by black swan events positively or negatively. Example, education through internet or Zoom meetings. It was affected positively because of a black swan event called COVID, whereas hospitality was affected negatively by the same black swan event, right? The third one is check whether a black swan event is affecting you positively or negatively. Fourth important thing, are the government policies in line? Are the government policies in line with your idea? Say, for example, you are building for example, you are building an automobile, right? And say when you are building an automobile, you are building an automobile right now which will run on
Yes.
diesel vehicles. Example. That's not the policy of the government. The government is now inching towards EVs. So you should not work on it, right? So four you have seen, right? The first one is what customer problem is
Customer
it
value.
solving, right? Again, award marks. If you are thinking that yes, this is solving the customer problems, give 5 marks. If you are saying no, no customer problem is solved, give 1 mark. If you are neutral, you are not aware, give 3 marks. Second thing, is it in line with changing marketing trends, market trends? Again, 5, 3, 1. Third one, is black swan event effective positively? 5. It is affecting and adversely? 1. Is it in line with the government policies? 5. Is it against government policies? 1. These are
So
the
it's
four.
like a SWOT analysis for validating the idea.
It is
Simple.
not exactly a SWOT analysis, but something similar to that.
Yes.
And what happens is your ideas, when you put your ideas, you'll get a score. And it is based on the score you will understand whether you are able to validate your idea. These are the 4 steps. The 2 steps I will answer later. Please go ahead, Karthik.
Yes, sir. So we are done with the validation, sir. So a lot of the families are emerging with no business background. So how can I validate myself? Am I capable of doing business or not?
Okay. Karthik, let me ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go back centuries ago. Let's go
Yes.
back centuries, right? Let's go back to the origin. What was the mode of business existed then?
The tools,
The
the
mode of
part.
business existed then was barter
Exchange.
system.
Sorry. Exchange.
Barter system, right?
Yes, yes.
I'm a farmer. I cultivate. You are
Yes.
a probably blacksmith. You bring right. You build the metals. Somebody is a goldsmith. He
I'm
makes
good.
gold. Somebody is a textile guy. He makes textiles, and then they exchange. Now, let me tell. Let me. The reason why I brought this example is: do you call that particular farmer, that particular goldsmith, that particular blacksmith, and that particular textile guy, right, or a tailor, do you call them as employees, or do you call them as entrepreneurs slash business owners?
Business owners.
Obviously, they were not working for anybody, they are working for
Yes.
themselves, and they are owners of their work. So the first thing, when you say that I don't have a business background, go back to your great grandfathers.
Ancestors.
You have a business background. By default, we are all entrepreneurs, let me tell you. Of course, the industrial revolution has come into picture. Then there was more labor that was required, more processes were brought in, and then we were all given, right? So a different layer of labor workforce kind of arrived, which is good.
Mm.
But the point that you like, I want you to drive is, don't ever think that my father was an employee, his father was an employee, his father was an employee. I'm only employee blood runs in me. I cannot be an entrepreneur. No,
Never. By default, we are entrepreneurs.
by default
So,
we are born entrepreneur. Simple. I have a 3-year-old daughter, Karthik. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I never taught her anything. I never did anything, right? But very recently, I've observed she comes to me and says, "Dada, take your mobile," and then she says, give me coins in exchange of the service that she gave, in exchange of the offering that she gave, right? So where does that thing come from? So by default, We are entrepreneurs, and by default, that blood runs in us. Don't limit it, don't inhibit it, don't get into this comfort of 9 to 5 job. And then, of course, if the family demands, if there are situations that demands, work for a few years. But as you work, don't you ever give up on working on your idea. Continue to work on your idea. Your idea will take you to places, man. You will create multiple jobs. You are muted, Karthik.
Sorry, sir. Sorry. It was awesome answer, sir. I never heard answer like this. I'm really impressed. And we are done with validation, and we are done with our how can he handle the business. And a lot of the people think designing an app, designing a logo is completely is a startup. So what exactly startup is not, and what is a startup?
Simple, my friend. Your idea,
Hmm.
until that idea brings you some money,
Hmm.
until that idea brings you some money, until there is some customer who is ready to pay for your idea, until that happens, that becomes your fantasy, not startup. That's a
Okay.
fantasy, of course. You're thinking about something, oh, I will do that,
Yes.
I will do this, I will build this, I will do that. Yes, it is good to live in a fantasy world. I'm not denying it, because fantasy world is where your right creativity comes from.
And it's a
But
fact
there is,
too.
but there is a difference. If you think about fantasy when you sleep, those become your dreams. But if those fantasies come when you are awake, those become your goals, which will soon be achieved. Right? So, good to have those fantasies and let those fantasies come in the daytime when you are fully awake. Right? And now work on your fantasies such a way that at least you will get that first one customer, next 10 customers, next 100 customers to pick up on your fantasy idea and then give away their money or depart with their resources. When they part with their resources and with their money, whether it is time, whether it is money, whether it is anything, and then in exchange take your product or service, that is when I say you are actually building a startup. Right? So this is a clear differentiation between fantasy, logo, fantasy, application, fantasy, UI, UX, fantasy. When they start bringing you some revenue, doesn't matter, right? Even if it
Yes.
is 10 rupee revenue, doesn't matter. When it starts building you that revenue and bringing you that revenue, that's when you realize that your fantasy has turned from a
It's
fantasy
driven to a
to a
startup, and it's
startup.
called a startup. Sir, there is one doubt me personally. Like, is branding really important for a startup in initial?
See, branding basically is what? Branding is letting the world know that, hey, so and so
We exist.
company exists and I'm able to solve this particular problem.
Yes.
So, branding is important. People always get confused branding versus market spends.
Yes.
Branding is not equivalent to market spends. Market spends is you spend for some reasons, but branding is you establish yourself as a thought leader, you are establish yourself as a authentic, genuine, I would say, problem solver in that particular area. And that starts from the founder himself, right? The way he conducts, the way he talks, the way he is obsessed with solving the problem, all these attribute to his branding, right? So branding is important. Don't get confused with branding versus the spends. In fact, I have answered the same question in the e-summit at IIT Bombay, IIT Bombay e-summit that happened in T-Hub. If you leave the link, I will share that link with you,
Yes,
because
sir. Please,
somebody
please share.
somebody captured that particular thing, is branding important, where I answered this particular question and they can refer to it. I'm sharing that
And
link.
like a lot of people spend tons of money into the dumps for for making a brand, which is really not needed. It need to be like spread through word to mouth or through the quality or the customer base. Am I going right, sir?
See, simple. If your startup is earning money, if you are
Mhm.
having money and you want to spend it on marketing in building the brand, right?
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic and absolutely fine. Go ahead and do it. But then you don't have money or you're struggling and you're saying that I do not want to start up because I don't have money for branding. No, that's not the right thing. You
Okay.
understand, right?
So to the previous question, there is like add-on question, sir. Is a startup is mandatory need to do profits? Like there are some of the startups in the social and NGO charities. They are not going to do profits and business, right? For that, where can they get funding and how can they get started?
See, let us get something very, very clear, Karthik. Money is required, revenue is required. It is more like an oil, right, for your machine to work. Now,
Yes.
whether you need that oil only for to reach from point A to point B, or you need to have a petrol bunk on your name, or you need to own up certain oil mines, or your name is different, right? For example, no, everybody. I mean, some people have the capacity to own petrol bunks to run their
Yes.
vehicles. Some people have capacities to buy, like Adadis, but some people do not, right? All that is required is my vehicle has to move from A to B, and I'm able to fill that fuel, right? So for NGOs and start for NGOs and not-for-profit organizations, nothing to worry, right? You are not here to buy oil mines. You are here for a different purpose. You are here to solve a different social cause, right? So as long as your expenses and right, and then your sweat equity is compensated, that's okay. And definitely
Yes.
there are many government grants, many CSR activities which the companies right always allocate certain budget for the CSR to work upon it, right? So nothing to worry much. Don't really worry about profits, etc. Start doing your good work, but ensure that nothing is free. Again, don't do everything for free, because I don't think that's a right validation of any idea again.
Sir, like in the startup field, how to choose a co-founder? Like in many cases, we need a founder who takes stronger decisions, which might lead to fall or rise of the company. How to choose a co-founder?
So this is a very simple thumb rule that I give, right? Two-step framework to
Hmm.
choose a co-founder. Step number one, your co-founder must bring complementary strengths to what you have. Say, for example, these are the strengths as a founder you have. Your co-founder cannot have the same strengths. It cannot be
Okay.
this. Your co-founder must is let me show it this way. It cannot be this. Your co-founder must have complementary strengths so that this is stronger,
Okay.
right?
Wow.
The first one is ensure that your co-founder always have strengths to fill the gaps that you have, and then you together become a brand. Say, for example, if you're strong in technology, if you're strong in coding, if you're strong in building and developing things, don't bring another coder.
Yes.
Bring another guy who is good at marketing, who is
Marketing.
good at sales, who is good at connecting people as your co-founder, right? So first, your strengths must complement each other, not compete with each other. This is compete, this is complement, right?
Yes.
Second one, your strengths must be varied, but your values should be same. Your values, your belief system, your vision, your mission, your thought should be same. For example, if you have a desire that I'm here to do a very, very quick sprint, that I'm going to build my company from X, I would say, dollars of revenue to $1 million of revenue in 3, 4 years. And if your co-founder is more like a steady game player, no, I will take time to build it slowly and then take it up. The value systems don't match, right?
Yes.
So your strengths must be complementary, and
Not
your value
compete.
system must be same, right? This is the only thing that you need to have while choosing a co-founder.
So we talked about like choosing the co-founders. In some of the cases, the co-founder is like unable to convey his thoughts, his ideas. So what exactly you recommend for them for improving their thought of conveying of their thoughts, their ideas to other guys?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Like majority of the people have idea, but they don't know how to convey it to other people. Like they are lacking it communication. What's your recommendation for improving their communication? Or
Simple, simple, guys. See, we are all social beings. If somebody says that no, I don't have a skill to communicate, I cannot communicate, I don't really believe it. Because even if you look at kids, they do not have language. That
yes,
even if they do not understand language, even if they do not know language, they have not mastered the art of speaking good words. If you look at two kids, 1 year, 2 years, talking to each other, they communicate. Communicate is not necessarily your fluency in English. Communication is not necessarily your diction. Communication is not necessarily your pronunciation and how glamorous you may appear it to look like. Communication is the ability to communicate your point to the other point or to the other person, right?
yes.
So anybody says I'm not a good communicator, that's a wrong statement. We are all entrepreneurs, we are all actually good communicators. We may not be good at language, right? But language is again a skill that can always be mastered. You can always invest your time, efforts into it, and you can master it. That is number two. Second, what are the practical ways of picking up good communication, right? Start talking
Yes.
to yourself. You have an idea, take a pen, take a paper, start explaining that idea to yourself, start documenting that idea, start building that idea. You yourself will come up with a lot of questions, you yourself will come up with a lot of clarity. It will be more like peeling the oil, right? Onion, right? You go layer by layer, deeper, 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 and then you will get it, right? So when you're able to do that, when you repeat this, when you practice this again and again with yourself, there comes to a point where you become the master of that particular idea's pitch. And then you start pitching that idea to your friends and all. You will just be amazed with the results this particular exercise will bring.
Yes, sir. Sometimes, actually, I came from like government organizations, totally from government education institute. So since from them, I started communicating with other people, like-minded people, and I started myself talking to myself. And I have recorded on my mobile. Whenever I'm free, I open my app and start recording myself. So like that, I have improvised myself. So as sir said, there are a lot of ways. Talk in front of mirror, talk to your friends, call upon your close friends. You can skill up there. So we'll move on to next question, sir. What is equity in company and what is valuation? How we can decide? How some company decides the valuation?
Okay, so this is actually a big question and a big session, Karthik. If we attempt to answer, it will unnecessarily kind of confuse and leave the people. But let me talk
Yes,
about
sir.
it very very briefly in a very very elementary language. The valuation basically depends on multiple parameters of a company. What is basically valuation? Valuation is number one, not about your existing revenues and your existing business. No.
Yes.
Valuation is always about your ability, your capability, and the scope that your business is able to bring in the future years. Right? That is number one. Right? And the thumb rule is generally a company is valued somewhere between 4x to 5x to what its existing revenues could be. Right?
Yes.
That is generally, or not existing revenues, 4x to 5x to what fundraising it would have done. Say, for example, if somebody raised a fund of say $5 million, example, then it is possible that it is valued at say, for example, $30 million or so. Right? These are just a thumb rule, right? Now, valuation is basically the scope that it has got, number one. Now, there are two things called pre-money and post-money. This is once you evaluate and then once you bring investors' money into particular things. The pie that you have as a pre-money will change its avatar by the time it gets into a post-money, right? Why? Because, say, for example, your company at one point of time was valued, say, for example, 1 lakh rupee, and then you
Yes.
have two founders. Each founder has got 50% shares. And let us say for example, the share value of each of those shares is say for example 1 rupee only, example, right? So that means you have 50,000 shares, your co-founder has 50,000 shares, and then your thing is 50% and 50%. You
Yes.
understood? Now imagine that particular company is valued at say for example 100 lakhs, 1 crore. While the company is valued at 100 lakhs, somebody came with an investment of say 10 lakhs, right? Somebody came with an investment of say 10 lakhs. Then what happens is your initial shares of 1 rupee per share and 1 lakh shares that you have with the capital, this particular share and the share pattern of 50%, 50% will accordingly change, right? With the infusion of new capital of 25 lakhs, then that becomes 10 lakhs, then the actual becomes around 11 lakhs. Then accordingly, right, for example, now the overall shares, let us assume that it is still 1 rupee per share, then the overall shares kind of become say 100 lakh shares, example. Now, out of those 100 lakh shares, this particular person has brought in, say, for example, how much we did say 10 lakh rupees as an investment, right? So he will get 10 lakh shares into this particular out of 100 lakh shares, 100 lakh shares. And your 100 lakhs you will not get, right, 50 lakhs and 50 lakhs. You will only get 40 lakhs, 40 lakhs, or 45 lakhs, 45 lakh shares. Why? Because 10 lakh shares are already taken by him.
Uh,
So accordingly, your
that is
initial ownership of 50%, 50% has become 45% and 45%. And then the remaining, the delta of 5 from each of you was given to that particular investor, right? So this is basically how a pre-money and post-money valuation changes. And this is exactly what you mean, the equity being split when the investor comes in. It is not that easy as I told you. I take a 2-hour session to discuss this with the students, but I try to
But
kind of bring it together to so that our audience can understand.
yes, sir, we got a little clarity on it, sir. What exactly equities means? Uh, how exactly we need to apply for a like documents? What are the documents required for making it public?
See, taking a company to IPO, by the time you take a company to IPO, you don't have to exactly work on it, because I believe if you are taking your company to IPO, you have made even enough revenues, you have made enough
Uh,
business models, you have made enough money where the consultants can come and help you. The reason why I'm saying is, let the founders, let the team focus upon the main deliverables. There are people who are specialized into all of these things. Let us not worry about it at this point of time. Founders or startups, focus on your startups and focus on your proposition, focus on your USPs. Don't worry about what are the documents required, what do I do for the IPO, etc. When actually those things come, we can worry about them at that point of time.
I just asked wrong question, sir. Sorry for that. Like in initial position, what are the certificates or things we need to do for applying for our company, making it the certified company?
See, simple. You can always, there are many, I would say, startups which are available, who can help you with establishing a company. You don't have to do all the paperwork. They
Okay.
will ask you a few details, such as your PAN details, your Aadhaar card details, your
Hmm.
passport details, and all different things. And they will also ask you for a minimum capital to be invested. They'll ask you which type of company, whether private limited company, or you wanted to do an LLP, or you want to build a proprietary based company. Again, how to choose a company is again a different topic, which again I can take an hour, 2 hours to help you understand. But right now, not clear, worry about it. So there are companies who are ready to build this. They will take certain details from you. They'll take certain fees, and then they'll register that company for you. They will also guide you which one you should go based on your idea. So before even worrying about registering a company, etc., these are all compliance issues which you'll work on. Focus upon your idea. Try to build something, right? Nobody says that you cannot work upon your idea until you build a company. No, right? Try to build an idea, get certain again, of course, when transaction comes into picture, yes, you need to have a GST, etc. But until at that point of time, first focus on perfecting and building your idea, and then building your product and building your service. And while you go there, then you can always hire somebody to help you with the company formation. The reason why, see, I always believe in delegation, Karthik. You are good at something, stick to that, and you give your best. Let
Yes.
some people who are best at them, let them do that job. And if it means you spending a little more money, spend it, but don't spend your time. That's what my advice to the startups and founders.
So it's I am asking this question very lately, sir. How exactly you turn as a student to entrepreneur? What's your journey?
You're asking my journey?
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Like
great. Let me talk about this.
yes.
So I did my engineering, bachelor's and master's from IIT Madras. While I was doing my engineering, I had this curiosity to do something. I basically definitely
Yes.
at the beginning, I never thought that I will become an entrepreneur, I will become a startup owner, etc. I wanted to work. I wanted to go to office. I wanted to work in an environment. I wanted to get some salary. I enjoyed it, right? So in my very second year itself, in 2005, I joined my first year engineering. In very second year itself, where I had an opportunity to enjoy my summer holidays at home, because at IIT Madras you have your summer holidays from right May, June, July, and August, right? Your April, May is when your exams get over,
Yes.
and May, June, July, again in August, your next semester starts. I had the opportunity to stay back at home and enjoy, which I did in the first year. But in second year, I thought, no, let me get some exposure. So I started applying to almost 100, companies. And out of them, you know which company, I would say, responded to my mails, cold emails, etc.? Tata Motors. I went to
Oh,
Tata Motors Pune, Pimpri Chinchwad. I worked upon that time the suspension, the residual. I would say actually the topic is the effect of residual stresses because of short pinning. That was the topic, which I'll talk about it later. So I worked on the Tata Ace suspension system for 2 months. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. Then I came back in third year. I worked with another company called Invention Labs. I came back. Then mine is a dual degree, so 5 years program. And in this five
Yes.
years program, we have a 6 months internship. Then in our fourth year, I worked with another company called Automotive Infotronics Private Limited, which is a JV between Continental AG as well as Ashok Leyland. So now, why am I saying this is, I never had the a fascination to start up and to become an entrepreneur, but I always had a fascination to work. Now, when I started working, my favorite professor, his name is Dr. David Coyle Pillai. He's still working in IT Madras. He
Okay.
made one statement to me while I was passing out. Rajiv, make sure that you make your boss successful and you're successful. That means if I can replace my boss, when will my boss be happy? When any work that is given, when he thinks that even without him, I can handle
Yes.
the show, I can run the show, right? That is when bosses will be happy, right? This
Gaining
statement,
complete trust and love.
sorry.
Gaining the complete trust, like between
Exactly. And exactly. And when will you gain that stress? You will gain that
when we
trust
take this. Yes.
only when you give him an end to end solution, only when you behave like an entrepreneur in your job. And the term for it is called entrepreneur.
Yes.
So, since my day one of job, though I have not been an entrepreneur, I had been an entrepreneur, and that kind of helped me to build, right? So every project, every assignment that I've taken, either with TVS Motors as a company, Bosch as another product manager, then Mahindra and Mahindra as a operations and business head, or Gati Logistics as an electric vehicle business head, or in between Topper as a sales business head, right? Every point, every assignment that I took the complete end-to-end responsibility, not as a 9 to 5 employee, but as
Yes.
a 24/7 entrepreneur. Because I had that mind, moving from that entrepreneurial to a kind of an entrepreneurial journey would be easier and had been easy.
You have worked under various roles, sir, from starting beginning to like operational strategist, chief mentor, business coach, whatnot, everything. Like a lot of new entrepreneurs do try to do a number of mistakes. So, what are the some of the mistakes that we need to avoid?
See, one of the mistakes which I think I have done, and sometimes I still do it, and I always, I would say, remind myself that don't do that mistake is,
Yes,
I it is very difficult to attribute time with money. As an example, right? A decision you can take now, the same decision you can take after 10 days also. But then the decision that you take now and you are done away with costs you less than
yes,
you procrastinate, prolong, and then take the same decision after 10 days. Number one, right? Be decisive. Take decisions whether it is right or wrong or right or bad or whatsoever with whatsoever. Because at any point, at no point of time, you will make a perfect right decision. Take decisions immediately and move on. First thing, right? Don't prolong. That's a mistake I do. Sometimes I get into this analysis paralysis. Oh yeah, and then I kind of delay decisions. I'm admitting
it
it.
goes.
I need to work upon it. So decisions must be taken on time quickly. That is number one. Second thing, again, this is also time equivalent to money. You are good at certain things. Say, for example, I'm good in my EVs, but I'm
Yes,
not very good at running ads on Facebook. While there are some arguments say learn, but I want to say, why would I learn? Probably Karthik is a master in social media marketing. Example.
yes.
I probably compensate or reward him for the strengths that he has, and I will take his help in working for me. While I focus on my EVs, he will focus on social media marketing for my EVs, right? So I'm spending my time productively elsewhere by parting away with some
Oh,
money.
yes. Assigning that
So
work to somebody else who is expert at
absolutely.
it.
So decisions and delegation are two important things. Be
Yes,
decisive about be decisive about your points, and do not prolong
yes.
or procrastinate the decisions. Number two, don't do everything by yourself. Start delegating, and you will see miracles happening.
So, being an entrepreneur, being a boss, we don't have someone on our head to push, to instruct. So, how exactly you make yourselves to do that work, avoiding the procrastination? What are your tips on that for the students?
See, that's the beauty, right? If you are an employee, it is easy because you know that the boss will ask these questions, the boss will ask these questions, and you get prepared. But then if you become an entrepreneur, there are too many open questions And see, an employee probably if he works, he will only work as to please his employer. That's it. My boss, he will ask these files. I've finished these files. He will ask these particular assignments. I've done.
That's my job. That's it.
Yeah. But when you become an entrepreneur, you become your own employer. And
Yes.
then you will not work 9 to 5. You will start working 24 bar 7. And you will get the ideas, you will get the thoughts. And let me tell you, once you wear an entrepreneur slash entrepreneurial hat, you cannot brush off those ideas. Those ideas will come torment you. You will have to do this. You will have to send this mail. You will have to talk to that person. You will have to finish
Yes.
this task. They will continue to bug you. So you yourself will become your master. You yourself will become your follow-up guy. You yourself will become your boss. So don't worry. That will happen automatically.
In beginning, in the startups, we will be becoming the founder. We are the CEO. We are the COO and whatnot. Each and every the role, we will be satisfying that. But for that, we need lots of energy. We need a boost. And I have seen you have attended a lot of the summits, sir, and you are very active on social media, and you are working on EV masterclass. How you do manage all this? Like how you manage the energy for all this equally?
That's my trade secret. Just joking. Just joking. See, Karthik, I come from a okay. Last time I shared this in an interview,
Uh,
and then
One
major
mentor has instructed
yeah,
that we are all
major
from same.
call said never to do that. But I
Yes,
always okay. But still, I come from a decent town. I come from a thing. But then I always had this fascination to somehow give back to the community, give back to the society, give back to the
yes,
students. Because see, when you put a student in the right track, say for example before he touches his 20 or mid 20s,
yes.
right, not just his but the generations to come get impacted positively.
The chain has to break.
What will you tell them? What will you tell a 40 or 50-year-old guy? He's already half the life is gone. 50-year-old guy,
Yes,
right? You invest your time among the youth. That's exactly what I'm doing, right? I invest my time among the youth so that their generations are successful.
and
Now
as a user, we
for
have
example,
nothing.
for
Please continue,
example
sir. Yes,
I today let me talk about today, right? Today I woke up at around 5:30. I finished some of my work and we went for a sunrise breakfast. Right? I promised my family that I'll take you out for a sunrise breakfast where you see the sunrise and then you'll have a breakfast. So we went to sunrise breakfast and then we went to a small nearby lake. We spent some time there. We took some photos and we came back. And I've been working until 6:45. Okay. Now 6:45 is when I realized that I haven't shaved. I quickly shaved and then 7. So I have actually been working since 5 p.m. and I have attended more than 4 to 5 1 hour long calls throughout my day, right?
yes,
Talking and exercising your mind. But none of that is visible right now while I speak because I want to ensure that this 1 hour that I spend with Karthik, this 1 hour that the audience that they look at, they should not look at it exhausted, tiring, Raju, because they have been waiting for it.
yes,
They need to get the best out of me because they have been expecting the best, right? So when you have that particular thing, right, the energy automatically comes in, the passion automatically comes in. And again, as I said, right, this is my ikigai. This is the
yes.
very core
The
of my
passion,
truth,
the
right?
core.
To encourage people is my passion. So whatsoever adversaries come, even if somebody wakes me up in the midnight and then talk to me, they still get encouraging words from me because that's what my passion is, and I gain a lot of energy from this, right? So follow your ikigai. You will be passionate and
Yes,
energetic
yes,
by yourself.
yes, sir. One of the posts you have mentioned that our network is our net worth, and you have been well actively connecting with lots of people out there. And could you please tell us what are some of the skills as an entrepreneur that they need for connecting other people, like
See, as
building
an
their
entrepreneur,
network?
many people say that I'm an introvert. I do not speak, etc.
Yes,
That's all bullshit, right?
yes,
Don't ever bring these reasons. See, the minute you bring excuses, you are already half defeated.
yes.
But then
So
the minute you always have your results as your perspective, you might not be comfortable connecting with others. Doesn't matter. You improve, you work on it. When you know something is good, something is better, why not you aspire for it? And for an
yes,
entrepreneur, networking is very, very, very important. Let me tell you, simple, right? Just I'll talk to you about EV Masterclass story only to give you an example of this network and the net worth. I joined Gati Logistics, right? And then I developed the last mile delivery operations for IKEA through electric vehicles. Then IKEA, my friends in IKEA, Miss Gopika Pawar, right, and Mrinmai. So these are all my friends. They are still there. They said, "Wow, Raju, you have done a fantastic job. You are able to do it. Some channel is coming. Some newspaper is coming for an interview. Would you like to talk? Why
Yes,
not?
maybe I forward
I
also.
speak to
Yes.
them." Then they
Yes.
said, "Wow, this is such a brilliant job. Somebody from Neat Air wants to talk to you. Would you like to talk? Yes, talk to them."
Definitely.
Then, when I spoke to that automotive director from, who is the director of electric mobility from Niti Aayog, I understood that he is from IIT Kharagpur. I am from IIT Madras. So there was a bond that happened. Then he said, "Oh, such a brilliant thing you have done. You should be part of the policy drafting and committee." I was there. Then slowly, what happened? The IKEA and Gati story went so wild that one evening KTR Garu was having a closed room discussion among few CEOs, where a Science CEO and Mahindra CEO, the director of IIT Hyderabad, the CEO of T Hub, many people were there. And it was again through network I was invited to that particular thing. I was the youngest among the crowd who attended. Then it is in that meeting KTR Garu said we should do something in the EV industry because we should attract more companies, right?
Yes.
Then I went and worked upon it. Then I realized talent is a right. Then I spoke to T Hub. Then I spoke to the government. Then the EV masterclass happened, and it will continue to happen. Now people from the AP government saw this and they said, "Hey, can't you do one for an through Andhra Pradesh Skill Development Council? Why not?" Then somebody saw from ETV and they say, "Wow, this was launched by the governor. Why don't you do one cover story?" I said, "Yes, why not do a cover story?" Now somebody from NDTV is reaching out. "Sir, can you do this at a national level? Why not?" So how is this happening? I'm not going after anything, right? I'm keeping myself available. I'm making myself available. And it is that network effect that brings the magic. So your network is definitely your net worth.
In simple, like making ourselves open for all
Absolutely.
and taking the risks and chances and taking a new roads, trying out new things.
Absolutely. See, simple, right? People say if you win, you gain. If
Yes.
you lose, you
Those we
learn.
learn.
In
Yes.
both ways, you gain.
So if he did in the same way, he'll what we said. If he didn't correct it in the next time, he's definitely going to lose. He has to correct, in my opinion. Yes, sir.
Correct. Correct. Now,
And
repeating the same mistake again and again is foolishness. One has to, you should make mistakes, but that mistake should be a new mistake. It cannot be an old mistake again.
like same what Edison did when he was inventing the bulb.
Correct. Correct.
So let's move on to EV side, sir. We have finished the startup side, and we will move to EV side. You have attended the session. Is it India really going to be uh, EV global hub, India? And we would like to know: is it really going India a global hub?
Yes. In fact, yesterday, as part of EV Masterclass, I was taking a session where I was decoding the automotive mission plans of 2005 to 2006 to 2016, National Electric Mobility Mission Plan of 2013 to
Yes.
2020, and Automotive Mission Plan of 2016 to 2026. I was decoding all of these plans, and it is more than evident every time that this plan is decoded and then it is brought in. It is more than evident that India is going to become the EV hub for the rest of the world. Given,
Yeah. So with the same impact, lot of the big companies are entering into the EV field. Is there any chance for new entrepreneurs for joining this domain? Like many
see,
companies, big companies are joining the EV industry.
exactly. See, if you look at 2 3 years, majority of the EV industry was at the point of time driven by startups. But now
Yes.
you see the mainstream players are also entering into it. Not only that, Maruti announced 50,000 crores, Tata Motors announced 10,000 crores, Hyundai Motors announced 4,000 crores, right? We are
Which are
talking about Tesla coming into India, right? So the market itself is expected to become what 21 lakh crore market by 2020, by 2030, 200, right? Roughly $300 billion by 2026, that is automotive market, and $206 billion by 2020, 2030, that is EV market, right? So this is, I mean, there's a lot of money that is getting into it. Warren Buffett has his money in EVs, Adanis have their monies in EVs, Ambanis have their monies in EVs. So since the
Each and
money
everyone
amount
is
is there,
investing.
any entrepreneur who wants to solve some problem in EV will have access to all this money in the market, right? Simple.
Yeah. I just forgot this question. In the EV industry, there is no academic institutions or teaching. Like we don't have the fundamentals for teaching that stuff, and that's what exactly EV masterclass is doing, right? And like turning the students, turning the startup founders, turning the businessmen to EV professionals. So could you please tell us what exactly EV
Yes,
masterclass does?
correct, correct. So understand this very clearly, Karthik. One question let me ask you.
Yes.
2000s was an IT revolution. Do you
Yes.
agree?
Yes.
And do you also agree that India at this point of time is the IT hub of the world?
No.
Is India not the IT hub of the world?
No. On the time, I have obviously said no, sir.
No.
No.
India is the IT hub of the world. Many, for example, maybe the maximum number of engineers who are working in information technology are in India.
So in that
Most
way,
of the
I can say
companies,
yes. In that way, I can say yes.
yes,
But
and
in
most
terms
of the
of
companies
number, in terms
have
of
their
number,
shops established, their R&D shops, right?
yes,
Have their right business analytics. All of them are established in India. Example, right? Amazon,
yes, yes, yes,
Microsoft is talking about establishing the same thing in India, right? Google is trying to shift the entire base. So India has already become an IT hub of the world. Why? Because there are many factors, but one major factor is the labor in India in IT is cheap.
and the
The same,
resources.
right? The same, if you do get it done through US, they cost at least 6 to 10 times of what we. Why people are affording? I mean, companies are. Entertaining the people to move from India to US. Not that they love us. Of course, we are smart. That is true, but we are also cheaper. The same work to be done by somebody else, it costs them much more, right?
Yes,
Now, for a similar revolution to happen, and then why was that cheap? Because you remember, you might be so young, but at one point of time, the complete engineering institutions just mushroomed, and there are computer science branches, IT branches everywhere and anywhere. And then
yes,
so many coaching centers, so many things to teach you C, Python, etc. So the talent availability was more, and then the talent cost is less. Whereas in EVs, that's not happening. Now, if the talent availability is not more, a lot of work
what's
needs to be
demand
done, but there are no hands on the deck to do it. And unfortunately, our universities are still teaching the decade-old diesel cycles and
for
suspensions and
traditional
gears,
education, which we call.
traditional education, right?
Yes,
Now, whereas the market has already progressed much further, the industry has progressed. So that
yes,
is where EV Masterclass is trying to bridge and build that gap, saying, hey, you know what? There is a lot of opportunity that is being created. 50 million plus jobs are being created only in EVs by 2030, whereas India
yes.
only produces 1 million engineers per annum, right?
It's a
So
big
there is a
challenge.
lot of need, there is a lot of requirement, a lot of opportunities here. So that's exactly what EV Masterclass is doing. And then the way the Masterclass is built, Karthik, one need not be great at engineering, one need not be great in an MBA, etc. Even if somebody who understands the basic eighth class physics, if somebody knows what is length, the units of length is meters.
Yes,
Length covered over time is velocity, meters per second. Velocity, when the rate of change of velocity per time, how fast you change the velocity in a given time becomes your acceleration, meters per second square.
yes.
And when your acceleration, when you multiply that with the mass of it, that becomes the force with which it is going, right? Kg, meter per second square, or newtons. Then when with this force you are able to move certain object to a distance of yes, then you multiply this force and then the distance, that becomes the
All
work
basics.
becomes work done, and the
Yes.
rate of doing this work becomes your power. So that is how we build from the basics, so that anybody and everybody can understand, and they can learn the complete I would say know-how and knowledge of electric vehicles, and then not just electric vehicles but the policies and many other things around EVs.
So if I enter EV masterclass tunnel as a student, with what knowledge in as a professional, with what knowledge I will be entering out from master EV masterclass.
By the time you will come out of an EV masterclass, you will have a 360-degree understanding of number one, technology. You will be able to completely
Yes.
understand. You will decode what is EV all about, and you will be
Okay.
able to speak about the technology, at least like me. Number one, technology is taken care. Number two, Along with this technology, you will understand how the technology has evolved. What are different policies that went into it? Why we are so confidently talking that EVs is the future? You will understand the complete technology evolution as well as the policy framework. So, technology evolution, policy framework, and most importantly, you will also understand what could be the possible business models in EVs, which nobody is teaching right now. People
Yes.
can teach that how this mobile works, how this gear works, but how to build a business around this mobile, how to build a business around those gears, nobody teaches. That is what is being taught. So he gets a complete 360-degree understanding of EVs, right? And he can take a this, I would say, informed decision whether he wants to join a company as a employee, he will be assisted. Whether he wants to go for higher studies for MS PhD, he will be helped, or he wants to start his own startup, he will be mentored. All this is given. This is all done to propel the thrive and growth of EV industry in India and to ensure that India becomes the EV hub of the world.
Awesome, sir. And we also experienced like from various corner of the India, we have got the testimonials, like people saying what exactly they gain and how it got benefited in their life, the opportunities they got with the knowledge. And we are looking forward to take for more sessions, sir, in upcoming future. And I would like to invite Anvita for concluding this session. 1 second. I will.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karthik. Thanks a lot.
Anvita.
Hello, sir. Hello, Rajiv, sir.
Hi, hi, Anvita. Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Very fine. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just have one question and then I'll conclude the session. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Please go ahead.
Yes. So actually, I have also worked with a company as a writer. So I just know the ups and downs, how the company faces and all. So I feel, I mean, I've been asking the same question to many entrepreneurs. So I want to ask the same to you because I want to know the answers, how many different answers I'll be getting for this question. It's like this, I mean, the dedication we have for our team and for ourselves at the start of the company or a start of the start, I mean, at a startup, that won't last for long. Many times I have seen that. So like most of the teammates may leave the company even if we provide accurate salary, or even if we provide the resources for them. Whatever we do, sometimes the dedication we have at the start may not last longer. So how can we avoid that in situations for a startup, because we may not lose teammates, right? So how can we avoid it?
Understood. Let me ask you one simple question, though it may not be directly relevant, but I'm going to draw some inferences from this question, right? Do you find comfortable drinking water from Hussain Sagar or from Godavari?
I would say Godavari.
I would say
Why?
I mean, like,
explain.
we see, right, Hussein Sagar has a lot of pollutants in it, and
Why Hussain Sagar has a lot of pollution and why Godavari doesn't have a lot of pollution?
maybe Godavari also has, but it isn't visible much. I can say that. But Hussein Sagar, lots of stuff is visible outside at the end of the
Shall I
banks.
tell you the main reason? Of course,
Yes,
there
sir.
are multiple reasons, but I'll give you a different perspective.
Yes, sir.
Godavari, the water is comfortable for us to drink because it is fresh. The water continues to flow. There is no stagnation. Whereas Hussain Sagar, the water is stagnated. There is no freshness coming in and oldness going out. There is no flow. So even in a startup, if people are leaving at a healthy rate, right? If people are leaving and people are joining and freshness is coming, it is good. Don't have to worry that people have to just stay there and then stagnate and then stink. Not required, right? First of all, don't be worried that people join and go and they lose their motivation. So that's okay. That's fine, right? Second thing, but as an entrepreneur and as a leader, it is your responsibility to ensure that somebody who is leaving your startup is going because there is much better opportunity there, not because of the hostile environment that is created in startup in your team. This is important, right? Somebody can go, say, for example, somebody has worked with me for about 3 4 years and his salary is only 10 lakhs and he has learned a lot and has been delivering fantastic. Now somebody is able to pay him 30 lakhs. As an entrepreneur, as a startup owner, I should be happy in sending him from 10 lakhs to 30 lakhs because I cannot afford him, but I'm sure that
Yes.
this particular person has got the ability to earn 30 lakhs, but he's
Yes.
going for betterment. But if he's going for a 5 lakhs job, leaving 10 lakhs because he feels that working with this particular boss and with this team is hostile and it is idiotic, then I find it as a mistake of the entrepreneur or the team. So it is the responsibility of the entrepreneur to keep the environment very, very active, very, very bonding, very, very neat, very, very beautiful, friendly. People have to go only for better opportunities. People should not go because of the hostile environments. And if there is movement in and movement out, it is good. There is freshness that would always come in. Stagnation, I would always call, is stinking.
Sir, there is one question from the audience, sir, from student.
Hey,
If you
where is
have
this
that,
going? Where are the questions coming from?
from YouTube, sir.
YouTube. Okay.
So the question is here on the screen. Sir, what are your suggestions to these young minds with great ideas from middle class backgrounds, seeing their ideas go in vain due to like insufficient funds or insufficient mentorship
Okay. So,
from my side?
sir, what are your suggestions to the young minds with great ideas from middle class backgrounds, seeing their ideas go in vain? See, as I told you, right, whether you are a student, whether you are an employee, etc., always time yourself. Don't become a 24 bar 7 student. Don't become a 24 bar 7 employee. As a student, 9 to 5, after 5 o'clock, 5 to 7, revision studies, excel at what you're studying. But always have time for yourself to build on your own idea. And to work and to build on your own idea, right from day one, you do not need money. You need your efforts, you need your sweat, you need your mind. Most of the startups can be built with our own equity, our own efforts. You don't need really money to build. So, whatever stage you are, right? Whether you are a stage of a student or whether you are a stage of an employee doing this for a financial stability, etc., start continuing to work upon your idea, and you will auto. And again, when the idea actually requires funds, let me tell you, there are enough grants, there are enough funds, there are enough investors, there are enough VC firms who are ready to fund you, provided there is dum in your idea.
Upon the
And
idea.
if you're asking how is an access to mentor, let me tell you, I do the complete mentoring either at T Hub or at OTB or etc. free of cost. You can note it down. Karthik, how many thousands I charged you for this 1 hour class, for 1 hour webinar?
Zero.
Right?
Zero.
So correct. So not only me, right? There are many people who are like this, right? Probably see, Varshit, imagine you start working on this. Probably after 10, 15 years, you are really doing well in life. Don't you feel it is your responsibility to go back and then give it
Yes, sir.
back to your student community all free of cost? Right? So mentors are available. We are there to guide you. We are there to support you. We are there to take you along. Right? Do not give up. Don't ever. I completely agree with Major. Right? That Ajay, who has made that particular statement. Right? Don't ever be limiting yourself that you come from a different kind of background. That doesn't really matter. In fact, in the Shark Tank recent episode, you see somebody from a village, right,
Jugaad
coming there,
Kamlesh.
right, and taking right for the particular Jugadu Kamlesh, correct, Jugadu
Kamlesh.
Kamlesh, right, taking a check, right? So don't worry. There is a lot of money. Money is not an issue. Your commitment, your ability to solve the problem, and your affinity with the problem and consistently working on it is the issue. Do it well. Nothing will go in vain. Your efforts will always reward you.
So, guys, I have approached Sir on LinkedIn and I said, Sir, I would like to give some mentorship to my student, co-student along with me. So, it's like a spark in a flash. Sir has replied and he said what to do, or how should we conduct the session, and how exactly it should reach maximum people. And he's been with me whole time, and he is a active guy on LinkedIn. I have just added his social media handle in the description. Varshit, you can connect him on LinkedIn. Sir is available whole day, 24 into 7, as like he said. Sir, once again, thank you for joining the session and making it awesome, super awesome.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Karthik. All the very
Yes, sir.
best and all the best to all the entrepreneurs. Take care. Good night. God
Yes,
bless
sir.
you.
Sir, Anvita, please.
Oh, thank you, Anvita. Thank you. Thank you.
No, sir. On behalf of Feedbuzz, actually, I want to sincerely thank you very much for addressing and enlightening many students, sir, because including me and Karthik, actually. So you have mentioned many useful thoughts on how to start with an idea and how to like almost like from the start to the end, you have been completely active and explained it very well. And even you have quoted very influencing words like you start your own startups, that actually like made my mind so exaggerated actually. Anyways, so we may collaborate in future, so we'll be waiting with many more questions, and we want you to enlighten us with a few more insights, sir. We thank you once again, sir.
Hey, always welcome, Anvita. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, on behalf of Feedbuzz whole audience and community. Thank you once more.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Bye.